Whoa, hey, we're live. Ha ha ha.
Yo, we're live. Yo, producers, where's our graphic? Where's our Lost Resort graphic? You know we need that up.
What? Yeah. What?
How you doing?
Nice new setting. Nice new
Oh,
lounge.
excuse me. Why don't I
Oh
come
yeah.
on in?
You got a throne? Where'd that come from?
Welcome.
The Marcy Hotel?
No, this is from my old from the old Brooklyn apartment, man.
Oh, that's right. That's why I feel
I
like
know, but it's
similar vibe, similar style. Post Marcy interior design. It's a movement.
It's probably because we were both like buying furniture from the junk store there on Briggs or whatever. I think I paid like $20 for this thing.
Woo!
It's pretty
crazy. Score. Made it with you all the way down to Miami.
I know. Well, this is like, just want to let you know, this is the beginning incarnations of things to come. I'm moving my studio around because, starting January 1st, Eli and I are going to be doing a lot of live streaming. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that, so I'm going to shut the heck up. But
we can say we're doing a lot of live streaming. You can't.
I want a more permanent setup that doesn't look like I'm just like sitting like an asshole on my couch.
Cool.
So now I'm just sitting like an asshole in this chair.
I just miss your Bidon sign, especially considering the developments of the last couple of days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was catching a little bit of BS from the chat room about that sign, and that's not why I put it down. But I just want to move on to a colorful.
We're almost there. We're almost moving on to a colorful future.
Yeah, that's right. You see, I'm rocking the House Wears Many Hats hat.
Yes. Yeah. What's up?
Yep.
Yes, that's a Soul Clap Records D. What's up, everybody who's tuning in? We are Soul Clap, and this is our weekly show.
Let's run that intro.
Yeah.
This is something special for you.
Schmoozing.
Soul Clap.
Lonely Sea, Bamboozle.
Schmoozing.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Schmoozing.
Soul Clap.
Are you ready?
The show's about to start.
I always get stuck when I see that guy with the kielbasa in his hand. For those that are listening to the podcast, we just played our intro, and there's a guy. He's at like a typical deli. He's holding a kielbasa, and he kind of like looks up into the sky, contemplating life. It's like a deep existential kielbasa moment for this guy.
Oh man, I love me some kielbasa. Can't beat it.
No.
And like we said last week, you can't beat jazzy kielbasas, really.
The jazzy kielbasas. Yeah, big shout out to John Camp and Greg Paulus for coming on the show, performing
last week, the jazzy kielbasas
music. And it's sort of with heavy heart. He dedicated that release to his grandmother, who unfortunately has passed away since that announcement and that dedication. So big love to
live on through
family.
His music. Yeah.
And what a special moment to be able to share that. And then of course we got a big up Carl Craig. Dude, I don't think I've laughed so hard on Schmoozing before. He had me peeing my pants. He was so funny, Carl Craig.
Yeah,
my goodness.
Last week. This week we got a special guest. We got a Tribe Called Red.
Whoop whoop.
Coming in from the northern country, Canada.
Yo, I'm so impressed. I really didn't know that much about these guys, and since putting the show together for this week, unbelievable the amount of attention they're getting. I mean, believable. These guys are really talented and super special. So yeah, Tim.
Shout out to Raskin Music in the chat. Drop us a line if you want to get involved in the chat room, y'all.
Yeah. Questions for the guys, questions for us.
Yeah, we're bringing in a Tribe Called Red. I mean, we can talk more about it later, but it's they're indigenous from Canada. Indigenous people who live in Canada, born and live in Canada. And this is Thanksgiving week here in the United States, which is obviously a fraught holiday for Indigenous rights and for, our history in the United States of oppression of Indigenous people. So we'll talk about some of that, but obviously also talk about music because that's what we do here on Schmoozing.
Yeah. And these guys, Tribe Called Red, have found a fantastic way to integrate in their indigenous culture and indigenous music into contemporary dance music. in a really cool way. So
dope.
this is
Look forward to
exciting.
checking it out. But first, the Grammy nomination announcements just dropped. Clap, 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 clap. And this is our first year in the Recording Academy.
That's
we
right.
officially got to vote on Grammy nominations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's worth maybe seeing if any of our picks got pulled up.
Let's take
the nominations. Basically they send you thousands of choices hundreds or thousands of choices in each category.
Incredible.
And then you vote on your choices, and then those, I guess, the top vote getters get put into the nominations. So here we are, nominations. I mean, obviously the most important for us is dance electronic music, right? So
let's take a peek.
For best dance recording. There's some obvious ones like Diplo got a nomination, and
yep.
Flume featuring Toro y Moi, which is cool. Toro y Moi is dope. I don't know this track, The Difference, but that's cool. And Disclosure got one. They put out a new album this year that's definitely got some heat. And then J to G, the underground representing there, both of us. That was a big hit this year. But my favorite from this group, definitely Kate Trinata and Caliucci's 10%.
It's a hot track, and that's a really great album. The Bubba album's dope. I wouldn't be surprised to get some more love for that.
And it looks like Keitra also got a nomination for Best New Artist. We've obviously known about him for longer than that, but I guess in the pop sphere, this is his year that he broke out. So that's.
Can I just rewind us though? Did you say Toro y Moi?
Yeah.
Isn't it moi?
Toro y Moi?
Is that French? Can someone in the chat room correct us? Is that Toro y Moi or Toro?
Maybe it is. Maybe it is French. Shit. Toro y Moi. That makes sense.
We're calling him Toro y Moi on the show. We love it.
Oops.
It's great. Well, yeah.
I follow him on Instagram. He's been painting during the lockdown, and he's got some amazing.
Oh, someone just sent us a moi kiss.
Mwah.
In the chat room.
Hi. So what else is going on? Oh yeah, Best Dance Electronic Album, Arca. That's cool.
Yes.
I haven't listened to that, so maybe a little too experimental for my day-to-day listening, but I'm curious. Disclosure got a nod for their album. Kate Trinata for that album, 10% is on. Keitra, let's hope he gets that nod. Best Dance Electronic Album for sure. My favorite on there. R&B stuff too. There were some cool ones, like the best R&B song, Robert Glasper and Michelle Indegliocello.
Super dope.
That's
Super
dope.
I saw the Free Radicals got some love as well.
Free Nationals.
Yeah,
Radicals.
Those are things you're trying to avoid by taking antioxidants.
Right. Avoid those free radicals.
Toro y Moi and the Free Radicals.
And the Free Radicals. It's a new band. Oh man. Doing great here.
Yeah, we're screwing up. That's great.
Best progressive R&B album. There's some cool ones. Free Nationals, Robert Glasper with Fuck Your Feelings, and then Thundercat. So that's all. Those are all dope. Love
that
all that.
Thundercat album is tight too.
And in rap, Pop Smoke across the board. That's who I have. Forgetting everything. Best rap performance, Dior. And best rap album. He's not bad. Where's he? I saw another Pop Smoke nomination. I thought he got best rap album nomination, but he didn't. Never mind. But just Dior. We'll give him Dior. Because you know what? New York needed somebody to rep hard, and Pop Smoke did, and then he got killed. So posthumous awards are bittersweet.
Indeed.
Megan Thee Stallion's kind of dope too. Not mad at her.
I'm feeling that. I'm feeling it.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, if you
see how that unfolds, I wonder who's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, you can sort of predict it once you can see the nominations. You can start to get an inkling of maybe who's going to win, but we'll see.
We're going to get to vote on who wins from the nominations too. Is that the next round of voting?
Yeah, of course. We're going all the way. We're on the board, baby. I had no idea though. This was a fun experience. Yeah. So big shout out to the Grammys. Thanks for
the Recording Academy. Whoop whoop. For all you aspiring producers out there trying to win yourself a Grammy, I got the plug for you.
Ooh, I want to hear.
DJs for Climate Action, an organization that I do a lot of work with. We are a bunch of DJs, and we're trying to use our platform and engage folks about climate activism and how we can make a difference with music, and also how we consume music, how we listen, how we go to shows, And so we just dropped a new project we've been working on for a while, but it's public now. It is a climate sample pack that we worked on in collaboration with Greenpeace. Basically, Greenpeace gave us access to their whole back catalog of nature recordings. And so we selected, along with some other DJs and producers, selected our favorites. And you can now download them for yourself. And then we have we're doing a compilation that you can participate in. You can submit your track for the compilation. We're going to drop that on sustainable vinyl. We're working on a new technique with a mad scientist to do non-PVC vinyl. So
wait, who's the mad scientist?
He's just this guy we found who's like made it his mission to make more sustainable records. So
is he truly mad?
He's truly mad.
Does he have crazy hair?
What's up?
Does he have crazy hair?
I've never seen him, but that's his vibe. He's like a crazy chemist, like trying to put together compounds. So that's gonna be dope. We're gonna launch a Kickstarter for that album, for the compilation as well.
Can we get him a Lost Resort pocket protector?
Yo, what we can do is once we're doing the Kickstarter, let's try to get him on here to talk about the process, right?
I want to meet this mad scientist, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yes, sir.
Well, here's a segue. Speaking of science, looking at the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday and what's going on with COVID, there's a lot of people saying, we want to go home. We want to celebrate the holidays with our family. And, the CDC is standing up and saying, we really don't recommend this travel. We really don't recommend doing it. And look, Eli and I talked about this. We're not here to cast judgment on what your decision is. But in response to those who are saying that this is unprecedented times and this is an unprecedented situation, found an amazing article that says otherwise. Going back to 1918 and the Spanish flu, the article begins, this is from USA Today, and the article begins saying more than, with a holiday message that says, see that Thanksgiving celebrations are restricted as much as possible so as to prevent another flare-up, which sounds very much like the words of today, but it is in fact a notice that ran in the Omaha World Herald on November 28th, 1918. When there was a lot of backlash against the scientists who were saying, look, we've got a pandemic going on, wear your masks. There was, in fact, a anti-masking campaign spearheaded by the Anti-Mask League of San Francisco, who was, and then there was newspaper articles saying flu masks to be ousted on Thanksgiving, and there was a protest, and sure enough, when the mask came off, the Spanish flu numbers skyrocketed. So take a look at this article. You can find out a lot about what was going on back then. And it's just eerie how it parallels to now. There was a lot of information learned from this experiment in this period of time. Perhaps there's a takeaway here. If you are going to travel, be careful, man. It is a nasty time, and the past couple of weeks it's just ramping up. So
turkey. So Mike, turkey. Actually, in our household this year, we are not going to be eating turkey.
Good for you, bro. Are you doing tofurkey or just doing other things? We're
just doing other things. We're gonna do some fish instead. We're gonna keep some sides. We're gonna make some pies. We're gonna do some fish.
Oh, that sounds.
But this is. We'll talk about this more with Tribe Called Red, but Thanksgiving is a fraught holiday already. And like the beautiful part of it is coming together with family and with friends and people you don't get to see all the time.
Absolutely.
And celebrating together. And, this is something we've lost throughout this whole pandemic, is a lot of this time, this social time and this, time of love and hanging out. So it's tough to continually miss these times. I'm not. For sure. This is 70 and high risk, so we're staying apart this next year.
This is a reality. This COVID fatigue, the pandemic fatigue. We're getting tired of staying at home, tired of being locked up, tired of not being able to see our loved ones in person. But my goodness, I I think it's going to take a nasty turn. It's already taken a nasty turn.
Yeah, no, I mean,
at the end of all this travel and the holidays and people sitting together. Look, even back then in 1918, they had the ideas: wear the mask, open your windows. It sounds crazy, especially if you're in cold climates. Here, it's like 81.
I read a good interview with Dr. Fauci recently, where he was basically saying that like asking people to wear masks and not spend too much time indoors with other people and do these kind of things is not asking everybody to shut their lives down, shut the economy down. It's just taking a precautionary step so we do not have to shut everything down. But if people by continuing to refuse to take any precautions, it pushes us closer and closer to actually having to shut shit down. So it's like, take the small steps and count your blessings instead of being an asshole.
Yep. That's pretty much it. You pretty much nailed it.
I remember this, like, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, like, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. And there was a lot of talk about similarities between COVID and the Spanish flu. And, we've seen this 2-wave situation, right? I mean, in the US, we never really, it's been kind of a continuous wave. However, there's been, there was the first peak there, and now we're seeing with the winter coming that it's getting much, much worse.
This
people
is
are
sort of what they were predicted back in the spring.
So we saw this coming. We saw, we learned some lessons, but we have not followed those lessons very well. So here we are. And, this time I definitely, there's a lot more people I know I'm hearing about getting it, definitely getting it, and so it's out there. So,
be safe, everybody. We want you to be able to tune in week after week and come hang with us.
Schmooze. You can still schmooze wearing a mask,
Hey, and you know what? It sounds crazy, but you can schmooze over the internet. That's what we're doing.
I haven't seen this guy. This guy's basically my brother, and I have not seen him. We spent every weekend together for like 20 years, and I haven't seen him in 6 months. It's fucking crazy.
You've also seen enough of me.
I mean,
I love you too, man. And it's hard, but look, we do this every week online. We're live streaming together. We're doing the Zoom thing, and Zoom. If you don't have an account, they lifted their 40-minute limit for Thanksgiving. So you can stay on there and just like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get drunk looking at my mom. I'm going to say, Ma, here we go. This one's for you.
We celebrated my daughter's second birthday on Friday with the family.
Ooh,
there's ways to do it fun. It's also going to be really awkward and weird when you have people on the Zoom you don't really know. But when it's family and everybody can just be silly, it's usually fun. So yeah, before we bring in our special guests, Tribe Called Red, let's run our weekly Bandcamp song of
the Bandcamp Song of the Week.
Another special thank you, James Earl Jones, for doing that. I appreciate it.
So this week we got a new release on Soul Clap Records.
Bra, bra, bra. Oh, this is a special one too.
This is our man Afriqua, a Virginian, who has been out in Berlin for a while and makes some really dope. He's made a lot of cool minimal house, but this is like a departure for him in the direction of that funky shit. So we're lucky enough to connect on this path and release his new EP on Soul Clap Records. It's called Afriqua. And this is this first single that just dropped. It's called Legacy. Came out on Friday, and the EP drops next week, I think. So let's check it out.
Let it rip. Feeling that album cover too. So dope. definitely pee in the house.
Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down. Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down. Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down. Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down. Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down. Give it up to me now.
Tina with the jokes.
See you get down. Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down. Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down. Let me see you get down. Give it up to me now. Let me see you get down.
Yes, yes. It's a good place to big shout out to Afriqua with his new legacy single out on Cold Class Records on Bandcamp Song of the Week this week.
So dope, man.
See you get down.
Yeah.
Shining, man. Very dope.
Give it up to me now.
I wish I could play this in the club. One of those songs that one of those times I really wish I could play it in the club.
What's up with the Wax? Is this coming out on Wax too?
No, we're not going to do Wax. He was more into. I mean, we may do it at some point, but we didn't do it initially. Cool. He wanted to get the song out. He wrote this music and was like, "This shit is fire. Put it out in the world." So,
bang.
Vinyl takes a while, whereas digital happens right away.
Truth.
So yeah, Bandcamp Song of the Week. Every week we like to feature independent artists and labels on Bandcamp because that's the best way to support them, especially in these crazy COVID times. Instead of getting pennies, less than pennies, small percentages of pennies on streams, artists and labels get like 90% of your purchases on Bandcamp. So
it's also just super dope, community-driven way to browse and get music.
Yeah. So soulcloudrecords.bandcamp.com if you want to hit up Bandcamp. Check it out. Yeah. Check it out.
Let's do it, E. Let's bring them in, man.
Cool. Tribe Called Red.
Without further ado, what's up, gentlemen?
What's going on? It's popping.
How you guys doing?
Chilling, doing good. We just got together here in Toronto a couple hours ago.
Nice. And you guys were coming in from
person.
outside of the city, right?
Sorry?
You guys were coming in from outside of the city, right?
Yeah, we both live in different places. I live up in Ottawa, so
I live on Six Nations. It's about an hour and a half from Toronto. It's my hometown. That's my reserve.
Nice. Do you guys both grow up there, or how did you connect initially?
It's fun. No, I grew up there, born and raised. But I didn't know this until I joined the group, probably months into it, and then me and Bear had a combo, and he started talking about. I was talking about maybe my cousin, or he was talking about his cousin, and then I was like, "That's what it was, right?"
No, well, you did the classic. So who are you related to? Who's your people? And I've learned at this point to go with my. I used to go with my uncle all the time, but like I've learned now I go with my cousin because he's made a big enough impact in the community that that people usually know who he was. And as soon as I said his name, he was like, "Oh, you mean Cleve Thomas with the TurboGrafx 16?"
Yeah.
He was legendary for his class bought him a TurboGrafx 16 in grade school. So
what?
So, and it's crazy. My father helped mentored Cleve, his cousin. So Cleve is essentially like my brother, and I saw him all throughout my whole life, and even to this day. So yeah, we were very close. I'm very close with his family, and I didn't know until later on.
Is this like? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I grew up here in Toronto. I didn't grow up on the res, so we didn't meet until like our adult life. Like I was already with Tribe, and Tim was performing with a dude named Sazy.
Yeah, I was in or I guess I still kind of am, like in a hip hop group with my brother, a guy that I know named Sazy, rapper from St. Catharines, Ontario. And yeah, we were doing a show, and he was DJing. I bought his merch. I still have his old shirt.
That's cool.
From back in the day.
That's dope.
Is that a common occurrence, like among like the indigenous groups, like that there is such like a correlation in family connections, or is that just like real like coincidence for you guys joining forces?
It's a little bit of both, right? Like it totally was coincidence because like we like but we're from this, like he's Cayuga, I'm Mohawk, and that's like in a confederacy of 6 nations. There's 6 nations involved in it. It's Onondaga, Oneida, Seneca, Mohawk, Cayuga, and Tuscarora. If you're one of those, you could possibly be related to each other.
Gotcha. What you do get is there's this "where are you from" question.
Yeah,
you get asked like pretty universally when you're in indigenous communities, and it's like people want that. There's that kind of accountability of like, where are you from? And then usually if you say like what, and it doesn't mean like for somebody who grew up in Toronto, that question they don't want to hear where I grew up in Toronto. They want to know where my people are from.
Yeah.
So you say 6 nations, and then oh yeah, I know somebody from there. And
I suppose we have like an inkling of that in like Jewish people meeting each other around, but probably not so connected. But maybe
we're much more dispersed around the globe, I guess.
For sure. But like, you're Jewish too. Like, there's a little bit of that.
Yeah, we're pretty condensed.
Yeah,
small group of maybe a mil.
But those things create understandings with people like instantly, right? Like,
we
know there's a whole bunch of things that we don't have to say to each other now.
Yep.
Yep. It's like, if I come across another Ashkenazi Eastern European Jew, they probably have relatives from Lithuania. It's like, and they probably are from the same cities or villages. So it's this immediate connection to your roots. Whereas, but I mean, for me, it's like I've never even been to those places. A lot of those, like I don't even know. So there's disconnection from the land.
Latvia, Lithuania. I guess we were in Poland. I've got some Polish ancestry somewhere in there, and we went with cats and dogs. What was the name of that town? Right out the first Polish city outside, like from a drive from Berlin. You remember?
Szczecin.
Yeah, Szczecin. That was pretty cool. You guys do most of your performing in North America, or have you had the chance to spread your sound around the globe as well?
Oh yeah, we've done a lot of touring throughout Europe, Australia, New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do. Anywhere there's an indigenous kind of population, we get flown out there and we perform there.
We've done some Mexico tours and got one trip down to Brazil.
Wow,
Brazil's dope.
Oh, yeah. That was
So
a really
beautiful.
fun trip.
Where'd you guys go in Brazil?
Sao Paulo.
Nice.
Ooh, nice. What a crazy city. Feels like it goes on forever, that cityscape. It's like
I spent a ton of money there and got a bunch of records.
Yeah, dude, record digging in Brazil is amazing.
Yeah, I got linked up with we tour with this with our dancer. His name's Creation. He's also a producer as well, finger drummer.
Wow.
So he's involved in the beat making community, and he introduced me to a beat making community up there, and went and hung out with. Yeah, they're called Beat Brazilis.
Is that on like the
group sessions?
On like the baile funk tip, or like just on their own?
It's like more or less like, for lack of a better term, the lo-fi, Jay Dilla
beats
making that 90 BPM bop, or like, yeah,
tight,
dope. So you've had a lot of hip hop influences in your music. I mean, I guess obviously from your name, right? That's like immediate hip hop influence.
Yeah, it was a flip on a few things, because like we were trying to find a name that was, in a sense, kind of neutral, where like it brought in, immediately said what we were about, but also brought in as many indigenous people who wanted to identify with it. Like the Tribe Called part, like that's something we had also seen on like at powwows, like on some there was just a drum group we saw once that had a Tribe Called and then the name of the drum group. And so it was kind of a callback to that. And then the red is because that's part of the medicine wheel teaching. And the color of indigenous people is red. So it was one of those things where we could really just make something that indigenous people knew and could connect to, and know that, we weren't calling just on our nations,
Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's all good. I was just gonna say like, and then like, is just speaking on the hip hop stuff. I made hip hop music it's been on my 20 years of making music. So it's like, that was my first introduction, my first love.
Yeah. I think we're probably in the same age range, and that was like, I feel like just growing up in the 90s, being a teenager in the 90s, it's like that was
unescapable.
Hip hop was, that was like what you'd listen to. Smoking blunts, hanging out with your homies, driving around,
trying to skip class
in the headphones. I mean, it just always felt, I actually started my first experience making beats was also making hip hop beats for my friends to rap over. But I always was like a raver too. So that was kind of what drove me the most. It's electronic music.
This is the crazy thing about me and Bear. I came from strictly like a hip hop background. Never been to a rave in my life, really, until later, my years later on. And just being a part of Tribe and doing that whole thing has been like it's like a new experience every single time. Like it's I'm getting educated and more on the electronic music scene, and that's that. But my wheelhouse is like production based, almost purely. And and then Bear is that guy that came from that side of things.
What was your first impressions of like going to an electronic music party coming from hip hop?
Well, what was do you remember what the first party was that you performed at? Like the first like rave or like electronic music style festival?
Yeah, actually I do. The first time I ever got a chance to perform at something remotely like that was probably Shambhala, the first time that we went to. And insane.
That's a wild introduction.
Oh man,
super psychedelic.
The first performance I ever did, aside from like the first performance I actually did with Tribe, is that I performed at the full of government officials and ministers and stuff like that for Canada in Ottawa. And the next week, I went to Bonnaroo. That was the second performance ever.
Right into the fire.
The full spectrum.
Yeah, that first year of Tribe, I just I had to ride the wave and just go with it. And that included Shambhala. So like by the end of it, you know, like I had like a deep appreciation. Like I was discovering new genres that I've never heard of before, and got to meet people who I guess not just curate, but like are the main people that invented it or the leaders of that particular genre at the time.
That is something that's amazing about going around playing festivals, is the interactions you get with such a wide range of music and artists, and getting a chance. I mean, like for me, you know, getting to meet like some of my biggest influences in electronic music, you know, over the years, like, you know, like being into drum and bass for years. After a few years of touring, I ended up in a van with DJ Hype, who's like, you know, OG, one of my favorite drum and bass producers, and we were like on an hour-long ride together to a festival in Croatia. And getting to get deep with DJ Hype was like, what? It's crazy.
I thought we were in the van with Zinc in New Zealand.
We shared a
artist
green room with him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, man.
You're talking about my heroes.
Dude. Okay, cool. So you're coming from drum and bass?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You want to talk a little bit about
like reggae dance hall? So drum and bass growing up in Toronto, like there was a huge scene here, and like I got to see all those guys play here. But yeah, never met any of them, man. That's wicked.
Yo, believe it or not, I actually went to my first ever rave in Toronto was a Hullabaloo.
Oh.
Do you remember those?
Oh yeah.
Oh, what a mess! It was like a happy hardcore rave.
Well, because what we started doing is like the jungle scene started getting like really intense, and like it was like when like Jump Up was just like really taking off.
Oh yeah.
And those parties could be too much. So me and my friends switched, and we started going to Hullabaloo, and we just wait for all the happy hardcore to be over, because at the end of the night, wicked, like, you know, 95, 94 drum and bass DJs would come on.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I remember who was Freaky Flow was the big drum and bass jungle DJ from Toronto.
Yeah, and there was that whole crew. Oh man, I just lost their name.
I bought a bunch of mixtapes when I was up there, and one of them that I put on rotation was this dude DJ Drip. Okay. And maybe just an underground cat from back then, but a lot of my first early mixtapes were Toronto-based DJs for house and progressive and drum and bass and stuff. But I remember that was like, I was really freaked out. I clearly still to this day remember going into the bathroom to take a leak. There was sweat dripping everywhere, and there was this dude that decided to just like cool his ass off in the sink, and he just dropped trowel and put his ass in the sink. Turned the cold water on, and I was like, "This is weird. This is freaky." Canada's kind of wild. But actually, now that I think about it, Canada is pretty wild across the board. We had some pretty wild moments up there. We love Canada. Shoot, big shout out to all the.
What's the after hours club in Toronto? The comfort zone.
The comfort zone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wild mornings.
Intense times.
Toronto heads. Shoot.
That spot's gone now. That whole block's been torn down, I think.
So like luxury condos.
Oh yeah.
Starbucks and stuff.
yeah. I don't know what they put up there yet. But...
Well, let's play one of your guys' videos. Just to get music in there. Should we play the new single?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You want to set this one up?
Yeah.
This is and you're wearing the hat.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. You want to kind of set them up with a little info on this track, and then we'll let it rip?
Yeah, this is our first collaboration with a really, really good friend of ours, El Dusty from Corpus Christi. He's basically doing what we do with powwow music with cumbia.
Wow,
so,
cool.
That was like an instant fit, an instant brotherhood when we met. And this song came out of the first time we worked with him, really.
Yeah. It was definitely like it's one of those things where you talk to each other, you see each other, or or online or whatever, you're like, yo, we should do something. We should do something. And we actually, we went out there to play a party that he does called Tropicoso, and which was crazy, by the way. And we ended up staying at his Airbnb. Like, he's the mayor of Corpus. He owns like a block in Corpus. So he has like a storefront and like a video team. He has a video team. They do like his merch there, a permanent merch setup right in Corpus, right downtown. But he also has a really amazing studio. And we got to work there for 4 days, and it was like a dream.
And he does stuff like, he's like, oh, okay, we need an accordion here. Hold on, let me just get on the phone.
Big mood in the house. Sounds wild, man.
You guys are getting some love in the chat room. ILS Laughter.
Yeah, shout them out.
Saw you at Dragon Boat Festival.
Oh, sick.
Big mood. On the big mood. Shout out chat room. Yeah.
Shout out Camilo. Camilo on the percussion in that joint.
Say that again?
Shout out Camilo on the percussion on that joint.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. Did you track a lot of that percussion live in this studio?
Yeah, I can't remember his exact of who Camilo is. Like he's related to. Who he's related to. His father is like world renowned dude, but he's in the
music world.
Yeah, in the salsa and in that world over there, and if Dusty's around, he's not too far away from him. So it's like every time we see Dusty, we usually run into him. He's an amazing player and just a really good friend that came and collaborated with us in the studio.
There's some hot wood block going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Cumbia is like a really interesting one that, like, it started. It's Colombian music originally, right? But it like slowly spread to all over Latin America. Like every country has their own kind of version of cumbia flavor. Mm-hmm. But now it's like over the last few years has become this like, influenced electronic music, become this like, I have friends in New York, who are like, just like cumbia DJs. It's like the cool kind of like punk rock music now for like a lot of in Mexico City. Like it's wild how it's kind of grown as a genre, but like over many, many years, not like reggaeton, which is like all of a sudden was born and then became the biggest genre in the world. But cumbia is like slowly got its tentacles out from Colombia around the world.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
had you guys had cumbia experiences and were like, let's write a cumbia track, or this was really just built from this collaboration?
I mean, it really came out of the collaboration, but I mean, like cumbia has definitely been music that's been in our lives for a long time. I don't know. Yeah, for me, like there was the kind of that explosion when Moombahton was first like blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really started to turn me onto it. Like I'd heard cumbia before that, but once all those like Mumbo remixes of classic cumbia tracks started coming out, really made me dig into it then. And so it was like, it's definitely something that's always been in the back of the head, but it's like, it would have been weird for us to come at it without working with somebody like El Dusty.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's got a connection to the culture. He's involved in the culture. And, you know, it's important to us to have somebody representing, you know, who's really part of it. Whereas we're kind of looking in.
And his partner there, I forget his name. But like the engineer that comes in and like works with Dusty, he's like gotten Grammys and many awards for producing and recording and mixing and cumbia bands right in that studio that we are working at. So
dope.
Yeah.
I guess Corpus Christi is like kind of a meeting point for like Mexican culture and American culture.
I think so.
Yeah.
Tim was saying that Dusty's kind of got a block that he owns. It's the block that leads directly to the Selena statue.
Oh, that's
yeah.
Man.
Is she from Corpus Christi?
Yeah,
for sure.
Wow, yeah.
They've
got
the biggest claim to fame.
Wow.
Corpus Christi's got the Selena statue and what's that burger joint? Whataburger or something like that. That's like
Whataburger?
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Remember Whataburger? I bet they got good tacos too, man. I miss some good tacos. Damn.
Oh, man, me too.
That's
ever since we did that joint, I started living in Los Angeles around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And everywhere I went, they just have cumbia bands. And I started hanging out with people from East LA, and they would like bring me to these like mezcal bars that have live cumbia in it, and they have the taco truck sitting outside that makes fire tacos. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best. My friend who's actually a cumbia DJ in New York also owns a taco joint and then like a mezcaleria speakeasy in the back.
That's awesome.
So that's like my real connection to cumbia. That like just watching him DJ is how I've learned about it.
Do you remember that Get Physical joint Heater?
Yeah, that's right. There was this. Oh my god, that was actually my first introduction.
That was my first introduction to.
We should play that. Let me pull up that video. That's like that's worth just like it's
Get
a cultural moment.
like the Berlin record label connected to Watergate, connected to Mandy and
it was Mandy and DJ T's label. Get Physical.
Yeah, and then they did this record. This was like mid 2000s or something. And I remember Eli and I being down in Bogota doing a gig and like playing that, and everyone then was like, this isn't like we're trying to get away from cumbia music and listen to electronic, and we're there like, oh, we're in Colombia, let's play this, let's play this joint. It was all mixed up.
Let's see if we can drop that in for a minute. Drop that in for a minute. You can just jump. You can just jump in a little bit further.
Yeah, they tease you for a while with the beat, then it comes in with a big sample.
There it is.
I can't remember
Big tune.
Well, this brings up a really good point, and like something that obviously was not being discussed in like 2008 when this came out, but you kind of brought this up too, like only doing a cumbia joint because you have like somebody who's part of the culture that you're working with that can kind of help you understand, like, bring the authenticity to the process. Chris, can you turn that down a little bit? Yeah. like cultural appropriation, right? Like looking back at this dude basically just took a sample of a Colombian folk song, and just like made a huge hit. And at the time, this was like that year was like the biggest hit in house music, to the point where this guy Samim, who wrote the track, he actually quit the game. He was like, I never wanted to do this for fame, and he got so famous that year, he was just like,
that's right. He did. It did blow him out of the water.
So, I mean, like this idea, I think has been obviously a lot more discussed more recently, but this idea of like cultural appropriation in music, and like as Indigenous people, I mean, that must be something you think about a lot.
It's something we talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Like we talk about it a lot, you know, coming into the music game right when like everybody was wearing headdresses and war paint, and that was,
man, I want to hear
the whole thing, you know. Living through that part of festival culture was definitely something that we had to address right away. So yeah, anytime it comes to anybody else's culture, it's like we got to treat it just with as much respect as we want people to treat ours.
So was that was part of initially, were you trying to educate folks like about what it signified wearing that garb and stuff?
I guess not so much educate as for what, you know, what the traditional regalia is about, but more educate about what not to do.
Right.
That's kind of the bigger part, you know. It's like, or the part that we were having to deal with up front was just like, okay, you can't do that. And actually, no one's ever asked like what the regalia actually signifies. Usually, the conversation just veers right into this thing of, well, we just want to be a part of what you're doing, and we respect it, and we want to honor it and be part of. Kind of the same thing that, like, you know, sports fans say. But one thing that came to me really quickly when we were kind of encountering that same thing over and over again was that this is an opportunity for us to create something that is for everybody. So when we released our third album, The Hallucination, the whole concept around creating this like I guess fantasy nation was to create something that everybody could participate in.
I love that title, by the way. I love that play on words is really dope.
Yeah.
We can't take responsibility for that. That was given to us by John Trudell. And it's part of a concept that he worked into his work long before, but it was something that he really gifted us with when he wrote something for us.
Who's John Trudell? Forgive my ignorance.
No. John Trudell, he was an activist, poet, and a musician. He was first really well known because he helped organize the occupation of Alcatraz in the 70s. I don't know if you know about that. Yeah. So he was one of he ran the radio station on Alcatraz Island. So he was a political in the 60s and 70s who, for a number of reasons, changed gears and started writing poetry and making music.
So are you sampling his voice when you intro the music with "We Are the Hallucination," or is that reciting, just bringing?
He wrote a few poems specifically for us, and that's him reading one of the poems.
Well, what a huge honor. That's amazing.
Seriously.
It's one of those things that I think is going to continue through the rest of our career. Like, we met him at a time when he just wanted to download information to us. So all of our meetings were about him giving us all this knowledge because he saw something in what we were doing. And the flip of that was us having somebody who we've looked up to our entire lives be like, you guys are doing the right thing. Like,
you're on the have to dig in a little bit on John Trudell. It sounds like a really interesting dude. And, you know, I mean, moving from politics to culture is something that, like, I feel like can be so important, especially like in this time now, as we see people are so deep in their politics. Like, culture can be a way to reach people in a different space, on a different like headspace when they're not when they're least expecting to be like, some of these things to be addressed. So I feel like it makes sense to move into that, in that direction as an activist.
100%. Like, you're talking about coming from rave culture earlier, and same thing. And one thing that I saw, back in when I was going to raves 25 years ago, was that here were all of these really open minds who weren't getting anything. Like there was a hollowness to the rave scene as well. It was there was just this wild energy flowing around, but there was no focus to it. And I always thought that had a lot to do with not having rites of passage. That's one of those things that we've lost in our culture, and that's what so many people were looking for. And so I always had this thought in the back of my head from those years of like, what if we filled that with something? What if we offer a message with the party, and that the message can be fun?
We totally resonate with that. Soul Clap, we're all about, bringing the history along, bearing the torch from the generations before us and into the future, and also making sure that melodies and messages and human presence is also ingrained into the electronic music, so that definitely resonates. What would you say the overarching message behind the music that you're creating is now? What are you trying to infuse?
We got, especially in the early years of Tribe, we got asked that a lot, right? And usually it was really a directed question that would be like, what's the most important thing for Indigenous people, or something like that along those lines. So we had to decide really quickly, like, what's our what are we trying to do with this, and what is the message? And the thing that we landed on is that at the end of the day, we're performers, we're DJs, we're entertainers. So what we can affect the most is the way that we're seen. So it's about representation for us. It's about taking up space. It's about the fact that Indigenous people have never gotten a chance to show themselves the way they see themselves. And you can go all the way back to like portraiture and photography and film. It's always the other looking in on us. It's always through somebody else's lens. So getting that opportunity to do that's where we figured we could have the biggest impact, is to be out there, to be ourselves, to show a community that people don't usually see, which is, Indigenous people just living like the rest of us.
Humanizing.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Well, look, I think this could be a good segue to take a look at your performance at was it CDC Festival, which is like that's pretty cool. I think we could take a look at that, and maybe we can chat, because it's a longer clip. But before we get into that, because you did say no one really ever comes up to you and says, "Hey, man, why is wearing the headdress such a bogus move?"
No, not why. It's like, what does it signify, the headdress?
Right. No, yeah, but I'm saying besides, I think probably the majority of people are doing it because it is an aesthetically beautiful costume to them. But like, can you just put the nail in the coffin for anyone that's thinking that they want to go out and do that next time?
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing is it's regalia that's only representative of a certain people, and that's the people in the plains. And it's something that like not just anybody can wear. It's something that's earned. It's something that's given by the community. It's not like I just go out and buy a headdress and wear it because it looks good. It's not like, because there is regalia that, like a lot of like your kind of powwow regalia and those things where it's like, you go out and you get somebody to make it for you, and it's like, but something like a headdress, something that involves things like eagle feathers, like those are sacred items.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard for us to even speak on headdresses because that's not our culture. We wear a thing called gustoa. That is our like traditional headpiece.
Yeah. We use it, like, you can tell where you're from. Like my gustoa has 3 feathers up. His has 2. So it's like one up and one down, so it's like we used it to identify. And like when you have, because like every now and then, because we all live in different territories all across from upstate New York all the way up to Quebec, so like that's our territories right there, so we're pretty spread out, but we do get together, all of us come together, and when you see a house full of, people from different nations, you can wear that. Also, Chiefs have them too. Like they have specific, they have antlers on there specifically to show that's their role. Like that's their job. That's their duty. So that's kind of what it's for us.
It's essentially it like, well, no, I'm not going to make this analogy because it's kind of a joke and I shouldn't be joking around about this, but like, I think like impersonating a police officer is a crime, perhaps impersonating a religious, you know what I'm saying anyway.
No, I don't.
What, that it's a crime? You shouldn't dress up like a cop? I'm just saying isn't that a law?
Police.
Well, okay. That's a whole nother conversation.
I mean, it would be more like dressed impersonating
the rabbi.
No, I would say like a rabbi, but I would say like using the police example is a terrible example because that's making police seem like they're sacred. Saying you can't dress up as a police officer. Yeah. Police are very far from sacred.
They're
upholders of law.
We have very few cool. I can't say cool. We have very few aesthetically awesome looks in the Jewish community for like the religious leaders. Like it just doesn't. The music is. It's just. I don't know.
No one's trying to book a hostage for their festival. No one's trying to like a Hasidic
trying to book the rabbi for their festival.
I'm a huge fan of klezmer, so don't
Oh, yo, okay. I'll holler at some klezmer. I love a clarinet or two. Yo, but sure. Yeah, I think we should play the CDC Fest clip. But like, just as a segue into that, like, Pow Wow Step is like the overarching Tribe Called Red genre. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely used it less and less over the years. It's just like when we first came out, it was dubstep land. So
okay,
right.
Pow Wow Step was just kind of how we saw it, and now that idea is definitely expanded.
That's in the past.
Yeah.
So what's like the contemporary Tribe Called Red sound, and like how would you package it for someone that's just learning about your music for the first time?
There's definitely like a powwow flavor that we put on everything. It's like we've got that shaker of special sauce that we know very well, and it's like there isn't one type of music we make. We just like to shake our sauce on everything we can.
Is that the MPC 1 or MPC Live?
Yeah.
What do you think of that piece?
I like it, man. I've made songs at soundcheck, and then we've ended up using for albums and stuff like that. It's great to have like a production tool on stage with me. Definitely.
Yeah, I was reading a bunch about it, and I saw a bunch of mixed reviews, but also a lot of positive stuff.
Yeah, you know what? Like between me and you, I think my time with it is done. I'm gonna move on to another
That
piece.
seems to be the consensus at the end of the interviews. People are like, they're ready to move on.
It's the standalone thing. I like being standalone. I've used the machine when I first started, and we've had some times where the computer was crashed. So it's like not about having that,
No, you're not trying to crash in the middle of a festival performance.
Exactly.
And I gotta ask too. Like, I see that is there like a bunch of like wrestlers like figures up there? What's up with that?
Yeah, we're both big wrestling fans, and I'm a toy collector as well. And I don't know when it started, but it just started to be this thing where I started lining up toys in front of the decks there. They're there to look out for us. They're our first line of defense on stage.
Is that Andre the Giant?
Yeah, I think I got the Hulk there too.
You got the Hulk, you got Andre. Who is that the Russian guy?
Yeah, Nikolai Volkov.
What was his name again? Nikolai
Volkov.
Yo, I'm coming back. These are the throwback wrestlers, man.
Oh yeah, those are the old LGN toys from like '84.
I had a few of those, and then my neighbor across the street, Leah Gordon, she had a bunch of Barbies, and we were like young kids. We didn't know what was going on, and we used to I bring the wrestlers over, and they'd kind of she'd bring the Barbies, and we, kid stuff, man. Don't judge me. It was naughty, but it's real stories.
Let's turn it up for a minute. Garlic farmer in the house.
Oh, they just turned it down. That's not a breakdown, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man. Wait, what? Is this an ad? That's hilarious. I mean, the crowd was like clearly eating it up. That's really dope. You know, it made me think though, we've had this conversation on the program, speaking to, you know, African-American performers about like the experience of going on a festival stage and like looking out and just only seeing like white faces. Like that sort of seemed like what was going on at that festival. I wonder if you could, you know, if that resonates with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's all like one of the things that's I've always loved is, I mean, because we're not a huge chunk of the population. So even if you get a lot of indigenous people out for a big festival show, it's a minority of the crowd. But what our music has done for a community that is usually kind of reserved and doesn't like to take up a lot of space in public is people represent. So we might be playing to a couple thousand people, but that like 25 or 20 or even 5 or 2 or 3 indigenous people will come up to the front of the stage. They'll take up space. They'll push people out of the way. You know, I remember one time at what's it called?
Bonnaroo?
No, not Bonnaroo. The other huge festival.
Shambhala.
No,
I mean, sorry.
Anyways, at another huge festival playing.
Where was it at? Maybe we can guess.
In California.
Coachella.
Coachella. So we're playing at Coachella, like in the electronic tent. And all of a sudden, when our set started, the Navajo Nation flag went up, and all these different nation flags just jumped up, and all these indigenous people pushed their way to the front of the stage. So those are the people we're there playing for. Like we make our music for everybody. We love that everybody enjoys it. But those faces who push their way up to the front and take up the space and are able to be in public and assert their indigeneity and have fun doing it, like
it must have been emotional, man.
Oh, it is. It is.
Every single time. Doesn't matter where we are. We could be in Paris and it will happen.
There's always a couple in the audience, and they'll always let us know they're there.
Of indigenous North American roots, but now living in Paris?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They're everywhere.
I guess I don't really put together like the diaspora of indigenous Americans,
We're really quiet.
Just like anything else.
We infiltrate places and we and then we live our lives and we show up everywhere.
We were playing our first show that we ever played in Scotland, and a woman came up to us to say, like I'm indigenous from Alaska. Like I was adopted at a super young age, so I've never met anybody else from North America. And I just wanted, I heard you were coming, and I wanted to come and say hello, kind of thing.
Unbelievable, man.
But she said it with a Scottish accent, so you probably couldn't understand most of what she was saying.
It was wild to meet an Inuit person with a Scottish accent. It definitely took a minute to process all that information.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool being a beacon out there, and then the people.
Yeah. But as far as our non-indigenous fans and we're also here to be that, to make those bridges, to be here, assert ourselves, not just for our people, but also to show everybody else who we are. So there's always an importance to playing to crowds that aren't just our own people.
Yeah, totally. We talked about this leading up to the show last week. I got a chance to speak with Tim and Bear and just, getting the show together. And one of the questions I asked was like, of course you're going to be an authority on indigenous cultures and indigenous heritage and indigenous music, but maybe at some point you guys are artists. You kind of just want to like cut all that and just be able to do your thing and shine,
Yeah, well, this is where like I come from a whole line of artists. Like my family are mostly actors, but we got all different musicians and all sorts of things in the family. And my dad's a photographer, and one of the things that he instilled in me was that like we can't just be an artist. That's not where things are at for our community. That's a luxury to just be an artist. That we have a responsibility to the community, that if we are in public, if we are here being seen, that we have to represent, and that we have to show people who we are, that we have to bring, use these opportunities to bring light to things that don't get talked about in our community or, from the outside.
Yeah, this goes back to like, culture and music being such an important tool and really a responsibility, I think, across the board. And like, in these times, I think we see it and, needs to be talked about and put out there more than ever, right? That like, in a lot of ways, it is our duty as musicians, as artists, as performers to be making the world, more conscious and putting that energy out there. And I mean, you have a whole other responsibility on your guys' shoulders on top of that for your roots. So it's a big responsibility, but it's important to acknowledge it. And that's a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm. One wild place we found ourselves now, though, is, talk like all these political things and these things that we kind of rage against, and, that all of these, I guess, harder emotions that we've dealt with in our music for a number of years. Tim and I sat down and it was like, what do we want to do next? What do we want the next phase of our music to be? And the consensus is like, we got to talk about love more.
Yeah.
And we're really getting stuck in a time now where we put so much time into fighting that after a while, all you see is the battle, and the battle becomes your identity. Mm-hmm. If all you're doing is fighting, you're not growing, you're not thriving, because all of your energy is going into something that is hard on you. So we came to this point where it's like we need to start dreaming about what's going to happen next. Where are we the day after we triumph? Let's start dreaming what that world is like. Like I'm a huge sci-fi guy. And so much sci-fi is so like dark, apocalyptic sci-fi, and that energy has to do something that's being put out into the universe. Mm-hmm. So what if we start dreaming of a future that is positive? What if we start dreaming of a future that's full of love and what we can build next?
I think this is one of the upsides of the pandemic, right? Is this moment to take a step back and see what we want next, right? Like that's something that, I've done. My activism has been around like climate and climate change and how we can, as artists, as DJs, have a positive impact on the planet. And, this is a unique moment to rethink the infrastructure and the values of music, of dance music, of our culture that we wouldn't have had without COVID. It's a really powerful thing. And then, using it to visualize what do we want to see next, and not having to worry about what do we have to tear down, because it's all torn down, especially for dance music. Like what the whole infrastructure is going to be different when we can finally have gigs again. So it's like, what do we want that to be, and how can we influence that positively is such an important question. And it's funny, like we I think of love as and positivity has been such a big piece of our music, part of our music, and always like we've just like finished our next album, and that's like kind of trying to bring in a little more of the frustration and anger.
Yeah, we're switching sides. We're tired of this love.
I also think that this is a time too when our the I guess the way that people are thinking is starting to change, so it's allowing us to kind of shift gears as well. So the balance, we're more on a plane right now than ever before, I think, and we're just trying to find our balance within each other.
It's like you don't have to set the ground rules or like give people the foundation of what makes you who you are. It's like this has now been an accepted, somewhat accepted piece in music, and that there is in dance music now. This is being addressed. Like there is a foundation of of oppressed people, of Black people, of other people of color who made this music, and now we have to acknowledge that and let that guide the future again.
Definitely.
Which for a while was just totally ignored, I think. It was like unknown, ignored. So it takes some of the work out from you guys having to laying the ground rules, I guess.
No, but I think we're definitely, as we continue to talk, I would say that, where we're coming from totally different backgrounds, it sounds like we're quite like-minded in some of the thinking. Our new album, we're calling it WTF, World Transformation Force, which is obviously universal love, transformation, from this moment to a better, future, which is, and then the force being the battle. So I think, I think that maybe this stance hopefully is going to be a popular one for artists and musicians in this particular, particularly strange moment in time.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. I like that. That's a wicked concept.
Yeah, for sure. I think we should talk about Thanksgiving a little bit.
I was gonna say, like, I'm curious, like, this is related to that question, or to that train of thought. Like, I was recently, like, I live in upstate New York, and I was recently put on to this concept of land acknowledgements, right? When, like, before you perform, before you have a meal, before you have a gathering, it's like you take a moment to acknowledge whose land you are on, basically, because really we all are, as non-Indigenous people, we're all trespassing on land of people who came before us and who were here before us, who were forcibly removed.
Totally. And, just to throw in there, Eli and I, we're from Massachusetts. We're from Boston. We're from a hop, skip, and a jump from Plymouth Plantation and Plymouth Rock. So we're, connected to the original sin,
Oppression. Yeah. I mean, and like, so it's where I am is the Stockbridge Munsee people. It's a band of the Mohicans. And I also learned, like, that most tribes were basically expelled from their land and sent to these reservations. The reservations are not the original land in the U.S.
That's right.
Where people are from. So it was just like taking it and putting multiple tribes in on one reservation and, cutting them off from the land that they had habitated for centuries. Is that something that also happened in Canada? Is that like what's been
it's a little bit different. Yeah, they didn't have as much of the big forced relocations as much as like people who were like migrant people were told they had to now settle on this piece of land or that piece of land. And yeah, it happened a little bit differently here. Like, we don't have the exact same kind of history where they moved, all these different nations to Oklahoma and kind of pushed them in together and then dislocated people from Oklahoma. And yeah, we have similar things, but the reservation system's a little bit different here. And then the community we come from is very different, because we come from like Six Nations. The land was awarded to us, so it actually isn't part of the same reservation system. But that being said, it's not where we originated. We moved up there.
Yeah, like we were most of the territories in upstate New York, we had to get off. I mean, there's a couple that still are on their original lands, like Onondaga's still there. There by Syracuse. There's a couple Cayuga spots, but like the old lands, like we have like old cemeteries and stuff that are like right smack dab in a colonized town, and they hate people, Cayugas. You know what I mean? Like they'll go out of their way to put up billboards saying how much they hate Cayugas there. It's pretty disgusting.
In the town where the traditional cemetery is located. Oh, great!
Well, the crazy thing about
that's in Syracuse, thanks, guys.
Well, we'll say about Syracuse. We'll say Onondaga. When you go into Onondaga Reserve, there used to be a billboard that was put up just before you go into the reserve, and it would always have something really awful on it, and you have to pass by it every single time you wanted to go back into the res. And it was just like, it was owned by a prick, basically, and like. And there was a lot of people that that non-indigenous or non-native, non-Onondaga people that would go into the reserve to buy cigarettes or tax, or whatever they wanted to have cheaper on the reserve.
So this is like their only interaction is seeing a negative billboard and then buying cigarettes. It's like,
yeah.
And I mean, this is the problem is that like you think this colonialism, or people think like colonialism is over, everything's okay. But the reality is the system is still designed to oppress. And a lot of people want to keep it that way.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's a lot of old stock people out there that, that do not want to move on and are very comfortable in their position of power, and they do not want to relinquish it, or doesn't matter how fair or moral it is. You know what I mean? Like it's very obvious they're stuck in their ways. A lot of people are. But, it's the general consciousness of people is changing, and we're starting to see different. That billboard don't exist anymore, but that was like, it was up like 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
I want to say on the positive tip, there is talk about Biden Harris administration appointing a indigenous woman to be the new Secretary of the Interior here in the U.S.
Oh yeah.
So she's a congresswoman, and her name is Deborah Haaland. So this is like, I don't think it's official yet, but it's definitely being pushed by a number of groups. So that would be a really incredible step here in the U.S. for just acknowledging what the history here.
Well, that's it's such a purposeful thing to not acknowledge that history, right? Because to start talking about it attacks the foundation of that everything's built on in these colonies in North America. So to like name a nation, or like, for you to like go and look up the people who originally have inhabited the land that you're on, that's purposely been held back from you. Yeah. So you don't think about them.
It's wild. Like, even as somebody who's, raised super liberal, like I'm consider myself an activist. It is not until recently in my adult life that I really started to learn about the indigenous history here in the States. I mean, you've even growing up, like Charlie said, in Massachusetts, like it's just not something that's taught in schools to, and like I'm from Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is like one of the most progressive towns you can fucking imagine. Like the high school, I had like, a super lefty history teacher in my high school. And like, I'm sure he taught us some stuff that I just forget, but overall there was not this is not part of the American history that is emphasized.
But we'll take the names. Massachusetts. one of my first raves ever was in Agawam, which is, sort of, sort of shitty over there. But that's just Western Mass. No, I'm not going to hate on Western Mass. It's beautiful. A lot of forests.
Yeah, we played an amazing show once upon a time in Western Mass at like was that at a school?
Yeah.
Where was it now? It was a really cool show though, like in a really cool environment. It was like an art school, I think.
Oh, well, maybe at UMass out there?
I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly where it was. It's just as soon as you say Western Massachusetts, I have this picture of this one show we played.
Probably like Northampton. There's a bunch of that's where the first weed dispensaries opened up, was in that part of Western Mass.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I just want to go back to if we're talking about just trying to name names, like Agawam was a tribe from that part of Massachusetts that they named the town after, the Agawam people.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of colonialism, right? Is to take those names and now we're gonna put you up over here like a trophy.
Yeah, and it's more like, you know, like there's always been this thing that, you know, that we don't exist anymore. You know, like we're not alive. We're dead. You know, like
it's just
we were something that happened way back when. But yeah, no, we're very much here and growing. You know what I mean?
I guess that brings us to Thanksgiving. The elephant in the room.
No, but you know what's interesting? You pointed out like, oh, I was like, guys, what's a piece of content from your discography that would be appropriate to play on Thanksgiving? And the answer was a track that came out a few years ago called "Burn Your Village to the Ground." And when I went on your YouTube page, there was a really interesting and informative link to a piece of writing called "Do American Indians Celebrate Thanksgiving?" So if people that are listening want to take a look, it's really interesting. There's a lot of different opinions from various indigenous groups. And I think the overarching answer is yes, that, you know, there is a sense of celebration and giving thanks, and then having that be the message. Maybe you guys can kind of elaborate on that.
I mean, I know lots of people who celebrate Thanksgiving, indigenous people, but you know, just as a time to get together and have a meal with family sort of thing. But as I mean, definitely for me in my adult life, it's something that once you started to think about was hard to go back to.
Yeah.
I think there's a general understanding that Thanksgiving isn't for us. There's a general understanding that, you know, the story of Thanksgiving is fictitious, that's, you know. So, but I think everybody has their own way of, I guess, interacting with that. And like I said, I think for most people, it just, you know, like everybody else, what they think about is spending time with family and doing all those things, not the actual.
I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge, you know, what the holiday is based on, and you know, and what is actually intended to be celebrated is a lie and oppression and colonization. But then to be able to also appreciate the time with family, you know, as like there's some traditions, like you can't, Christmas is gonna be Christmas, right? Everybody's gonna celebrate Christmas. There's gonna be lights everywhere, and it's like being angry about it isn't necessarily gonna make it better, right? It's like accepting the good things, acknowledging the bad things, and using it as a moment to teach about the bad things can be a really powerful way to move forward.
Exactly.
I get, but Christmas isn't as pointed though. I mean, I guess you could say like the Spanish Inquisition, or like you know.
No, but Christmas. I'm not saying specifically. I'm saying Christmas. You know? Christmas is a holiday for Christians, right? It's not like it's become a national holiday, but like it's based off of, you know, a specific moment in the New Testament that is central to Christian religious belief. But you know, has become a whole thing in the United States where like you're not allowed to say happy holidays, right? Or like you're not allowed to say, it's politically correct to say happy holidays. So now there's the whole backlash that like everybody needs to say Christmas because it's not American to say happy holidays because we're a Christian country. So there's
the Christmas thing was like Hallmark, Coca-Cola, Santa Claus.
You know, everybody.
No, yeah. I mean, but like it wasn't. I don't know. You know.
But that song, but taking it back to that song that we did for that was actually the first song that we did as when I joined the group. It was a track.
Oh wow! Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we were in a
I think you're actually queuing up somebody's remix of it.
Yeah, this is
yeah. I saw that when we were going through the clips. Did I include the wrong link? Because I went and then purposefully pulled it from your YouTube channel, which was just like a static image.
Yeah, that's.
But there are, when I searched YouTube, there have been a lot of different people that posted this song with like, you know, various video imagery. Chris, let me know if you need it from the.
This song is a high point when we perform it as well, and it's not even like it's just something that it's got to live on YouTube because of where we took the speech from.
Oh, that's my bad. I must have put the.
Here, I found the official audio. Do you guys have a video for this, or is it just audio?
It's just audio.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's send the official audio.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get going, but like we can tell you the story of it when it gets there.
Yeah, great.
We so the first time that when Tim joined the group, and the first time he came to Ottawa to work with us, we had an Airbnb. And that was our studio space. We actually still do this to this day. We call it the Walter White studio approach, where we just get an Airbnb and we set up the studio.
I like the Walter White.
So we're doing the studio session, and I actually ended up staying at the house with Tim. And I had gotten up and was like watching something on TV in the morning, and Tim got up and was just like, "I got this song. I gotta get it out of my head." And he started working on this track, and like as it was progressing and as I was listening to it, I was like, "Oh, I know what we got to put in this track." And because I do the video work as well, and I had actually already stripped this speech out of. It's from the Addams Family too, and it's Wednesday Addams.
It's actually right here. It's coming up right now.
We have taken the land which is rightfully ours. Years from now, my people will be forced to live in mobile homes on reservations. Your people will wear cardigans and drink highballs. We will sell our bracelets by the roadsides. You will play golf and enjoy hot hors d'oeuvres. My people will have pain and degradation. Your people will have stick shifts. The gods of my tribe have spoken. They have said, do not trust the pilgrims. And for all these reasons, I've decided to scalp you and burn your village to the ground.
Producer's doing some DJing over there.
Yeah.
Levels.
Yeah. So we so that when that track was we finished this idea off and we kind of put it off to the side. And Thanksgiving was coming up and we booked the studio session in Toronto. And this is so crazy, but Yassine Bey we were working on trying to get that collaboration started. And we met already and we were talking, and then he was like, I want to do this fuck Thanksgiving song. So like, all right, we got something, but we'll figure it out. And then it didn't end up happening. So we just released the song as is, and
I totally forgot about that part of the story.
Yeah. It was the initial like because we had the song, it was there, but it just never got finished until we got there. That was the day we finished it though.
What was it like collaborating and because there's another track that came out. This was maybe the same year because you did another collaboration called Red with Yassine Bey. Is that the same year? And how did that shift from he was supposed to come out on the Burn Your Village to the Ground?
This is about a year after. So that what happened when we had the conversation with Yassine before, it was just the initial meeting. He wanted to meet us and we wanted to meet him, and it was like a really awesome meet in Montreal. And he really liked the song of ours that was already out and he wanted to use it. And we were like, well, that's cool and all, but like let's do something brand new and let's do something original. That way we can, it could be a thing. And it took, I don't know, we have our manager right here. How long did it take? A year and a half?
What's up, manager?
His name's Guillaume.
What's up,
Guillaume?
What's up?
It took about a year and a half of since from meeting him to actually getting to record with him and doing the song. It took a minute. So there was this lot of this, you know, keeping in contact with our people, and then we actually got to play at this festival called Osheaga in Montreal.
Oh, Osheaga Fest,
that's actually where we crossed paths.
Exactly.
I think we did meet briefly. That might have been when you just started with the group.
Yeah, well, this was probably like 2 years into the group.
Okay, so no, this was before you were with the group. So this is
yeah, and so then we got hit up by him, and he was like, "Hey, can you get me into Osheaga?" Because he was in town with his family. So we got him in, and then here he ended up. Action Bronson couldn't come into the country for some reason, and he ended up taking Action's spot at Osheaga. And so he ended up having a set there, and he crashed like Nas and Kendrick set as well, like
and our set
too. So he was all over the place, and then the vibes were just so awesome. And he was like, "Look, let's." After Osheaga, we were like, we're planning on going home, and then he was like, "Let's get in the studio." So then we booked a couple extra days at the Phi Center, and it's a studio in Montreal that we performed there as well, and we got it going. It was a really awesome experience, just recording him and being in the studio with him and gaining his trust and like watching a master at work. It was
absolutely.
It was quite educating.
That's
we even recorded that verse with his famed Ruby microphone. It's like an old school like handheld mic that you'd sing into. I can't remember what microphone it is, but he called it Ruby, and
he's got the name as dope.
And I guess he records with that. That's the only microphone he'll use to record. He won't record on any other microphone.
So he's like carrying around with him.
Yeah. And then we had this track that we were going to release called Stadium Powwow, and but it was originally supposed to be him always, and so he got on that. And then there's two versions of that song. There's Stadium Powwow, which is just instrumental basically, and R.E.D. that has Yassine Bey and Narcy, who also was a frequent collaborator of ours.
Let's take a look, man. Let's watch that video.
The Aleutian Nation. Our DNA is of earth and sky.
Bismillah. Hey, showing living by the G code. What the f is Fleek though? Don't ask them, what do he know? What I forgot is better than whatever they remember. Never mind, I'm off it. It's quiet form. Time to put the temper tantrums to the quiet corner. Hush, that's enough, said the ruler. No suckers allowed to break bread or asunder. The daylight, lightning, and the thunder. Sun, moon, stars, and the hunger. Abundance in bundles, blessings and troubles. Towers and tunnels, views and valleys, waves and peaks. Streets you from, son, planet Earth. And ain't scared of no Mars attack. The type of bars is flat. Stay off my jack. I'm out they call me riot garments, top 5. Dying on them, super fly, slick a top rope, equals diving on them. Why you lying, homie? You won't play with my emotions, smoky. Big chief, heart rate, big beat, B-E-Y, I stay straight, jacket come clean, big said it was a dream. Now it's a living thing, with you and living kings, I mean it. Y'all seen in the R.E.P. I mean. Original nation, we run solid, I mean it. Straight jacket, come clean, y'all seen. And the R.E.P. Original nation, we run solid, we're with you and living, you know with you and living.
Confronted by the Ally Nation, alienation. The subjects and the citizens see the material religions through trauma and numb. Nothing is related. All the things of the earth and in the sky have energy to be exploited. Even themselves, mining their spirits into souls sold. Into nothing is sacred, not even their self. The ally nation, alienation.
Emergency on planet Earth. The currency is murder, you a man of worth. They say the day is coming, drumming that you can't reverse. Watch the banner burn before the cannon burst. Don't taste an illusion, the nation hallucina. Hallelujah, taste of the future, the people, the shower, the piss of the coward, the tricks of the future. Lonely martyrs, magic carpets, dirty blankets, Coca-Cola, soul controller, holy waters. Middle East mode, sand glorious, cheat code in Babylonian, the Orient. My superhero got the people power. Yasin and Yasin, you should heed the hour.
With you and living kings, I mean it, I mean it, I mean. Yasin and Yasin in the R.E.P. I mean it, I mean. Original nation with one solid, I mean it, I mean. Straight jacket, come clean, Yasin and Yasin. And the R.E.P. Original nation with one solid, with true and live.
Woo!
Fire,
guys! My goodness, it's such a melting pot of so much going on, man. That's really something to be proud of.
Thank you.
Yeah, even the why it was even shot in Cape Town, and like there's like a
Cape Town.
Yeah. So there's a really cool shot of him like in the back smiling, and like this was coming at a time when like he was kind of having problems like leaving Cape Town.
Right, I remember that.
So this was like it was a whole bunch of emotions, and everybody it felt very good to do something with him, and to just the way it went out like that. And at the time we thought that this was his last verse ever, because he was announcing his retirement
right
time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Luckily, he didn't retire.
Yeah. I gotta throw in some
visionary.
I gotta throw in some Yazin Bey stories. Like, actually, we were in Cape Town for the first and only time, and went out to see to a show, and Yazin crashed that show and came out and did some verses, and we're like, wow, that was crazy. A few years later, we were hanging with the Rudimental guys in the UK, and our homie Lloyd. His sister, Lloyd's sister, is married and has a family with one of the with Pierce from Rudimental, and that's like the connector that brought us in the studio, and ended up getting to hang out with him for a few hours, and he introduced us to Death Grips, the band.
Oh my god,
yeah. He was obsessed with Death Grips. He's like, we got
at that moment, yeah, that was like his.
He was really into it, and he's like, I'm gonna be the lead singer for Bad Brains. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is such a great idea. What a presence, man. And what an energy, and what a musical contributor, and absolutely perfect fit for this song and the message and the sound. So cool.
Yeah. Getting to know him, it made it really apparent that, that it was a collaboration that needed to happen.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got stuck in South Africa for being an activist. Basically, he had passport issues. They didn't want to let him back in the country.
That's right. He did that video with the feeding tube.
Yeah,
and that was like,
when he tried to come back to the U.S., they're just like, nope, you're no longer a citizen.
So fucked.
Yeah, it's fucked, man.
And then he had that. It was the citizen of the world passport that he was traveling on, and one day went back to South Africa, and they were like, "You were here illegally, and you can't leave." And then he was. That was after we like months after we had recorded together.
Yeah, they basically charged him with like passport fraud, that he had a fake passport and he was traveling with it, which is a huge offense apparently.
Right.
What's a citizens of the world passport?
I don't know all the details of it, but it's like if you, I guess it's like an alternative passport. Like if you renounce your citizenship to a country, it was like one of those I think it's like not a fully recognized passport, but something that people were able to travel under. I don't know all the details.
Great. We should all have that.
So this is actually I've just Googled it. It's a website. It's like an organization, the World Citizen Group. The World Passport is the official travel document of the world government of world citizens. It is based on the inalienable right of all humans to travel freely on their own planet.
I mean, that makes sense. We all live on Earth. That is a unifier.
Powerful thing.
I mean, we have a similar issue that like both Tim and I to travel the world had to kind of bend a knee on, which was that like we don't see ourselves as Canadian or American citizens.
Very good.
Right? And our people, like we have our own passport. And like because our treaties and stuff go back to European, like, kings and queens, right? Like our agreements aren't necessarily with Canada and the United States. So we had our own passports. For a while, you could travel the world on them, except for Europe. Europe was kind of like the big no-no. So for both of us to be able to travel, we had to kind of, swallow a bit of our nationhood pride and get Canadian passports.
Let me put it this way. I had to get my passport to travel with Tribe to go to Europe. And I went 29 years without getting one. And the day that I came home with the passport, my parents cried a little because of it. That's how crazy, that's how serious it is.
Yeah. It was weird, like, because when I got my passport, because I was born in the U.S., I moved to Canada when I was a kid. So when I went to get a passport, they told me I wasn't a Canadian citizen, even though that my native status is here in Canada. So I had to go through immigration to get a Canadian passport, and I had to eventually go and swear my allegiance to the Queen in front of a judge so that I could travel with my work. It was like there was an obvious sacrifice there that had to be made.
Literally bending the knee, right? Fucking
like hand in the air, you're gonna swear your allegiance to the Queen. Yeah. And same thing. I'm like, if my mom was here, she would be crying. This would be such a huge defeat. And totally by accident, because it was like my cleanest dirty t-shirt, I looked down and I was wearing a t-shirt a friend of mine had made where it's got like Mount Rushmore, but it's all like Sitting Bull and like Chiefs and Insurgency below it. And I was kind of like, I felt like that was my fingers crossed behind my back when I was like swearing allegiance to the Queen. It's like,
I love that though. My cleanest dirty shirt.
Oh, man, that's how I was living. Now that's my girlfriend makes fun of me now because my t-shirt collection and my I love folding t-shirts. Like that's like my like meditation.
Oh, that's you and Eli, man. You guys are folders.
Folding.
Because there was a time where I didn't have enough t-shirts to get through a full week.
Yeah, it's a privilege to fold t-shirts.
Yeah, that's it.
I need
a privilege,
especially
those skills. Seems like, I mean, I totally hear what you're saying. This seems like to be able to travel though and spread the message. There's some honor in that. I mean, I feel like that could be that's definitely the positive.
So there's a point with Tribe, like the reason why I was able to do it is because there was a purpose behind it. And a lot of what we do has purpose with it. If it doesn't have purpose, it usually doesn't. It usually doesn't work. It just can't. It just it doesn't matter if we try to make it work. It just doesn't work. We've been in situations where, we had a gig to do and we tried to do the gig and it just didn't work at the end of the day. Or until we can justify it and make it like it was there's purpose behind it and what we're doing. then it works. But like most times we kind of stick to that no matter what.
The way the group, like we work in like creation, like Tim, he's the producer. Like he's been producing music for 20 years. I'm a DJ, so like I got that DJ ear for music, but a lot of my job is thinking of what the purpose is and making the connections. And I can sit here and have a conversation with Tim and start to work out these ideas and these frameworks for what we're doing. And then Tim's like, bang, he's got like the music just comes so much easier when we can have those conversations, you know. Mm-hmm. We really work in a how do you put it, like in tandem with each other like that.
It's been really hard to a part of the reason why we're here together right now and we made the decision to do this is because we have gotten such a crazy relationship where we need to talk to each other face to face and be in the same place in order to move forward with things. I'm sure Guillaume, our manager, would totally attest to this, that, you know, like when we're together, we can make decisions a lot more quicker. We get done a lot of things a lot more quicker. Like there's just like when there's that separation of communication between me and him, it's just a lot more to deal with. And it's because a lot of it is what we do is really sensitive towards like there's a lot of things to consider, protocols and sensitivity, and plus like how we individually feel at the moment because of like what's going on with the times, what's going on in our personal lives, all of us included, including Guillaume. You know, like it's just like it's been a juggling act for the last little bit, but when we're together, it's the most efficient way to just get done everything we need to get done, and to make sure that it's like it feels right. And we have to look at each other and be like, does this feel good? Like we actually have to have hard conversations, and we've had to leave millions of dollars on the table sometimes because like it just didn't make sense. We've had to do that because it just doesn't make sense to our like not even a brand, just doesn't make sense morally to be a part of something, whether it be oil money or whatever, you know. Like there's a lot of people that want to be friends with us because of the things that what we stand for, and that comes with like just we gotta stick to our guns.
Yeah, it's making choices, being conscious of the choices you're making all the time.
Yeah, purposeful, man. You gotta have a purpose with it. If it doesn't have it, then it won't work.
Yeah, makes sense.
Wise words.
I guess that's a good way. We're almost on 2 hours, so that's a good way for us to wrap this up. Unless you have, I mean, it's a perfect final message. But if you have anything else you wanna shout out before.
Well, you know, one thing is that the background that you guys have been using there.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
That's Rhonda Dockstader.
Can you pull it out so everyone can see?
At least 6 years old, if not more.
Wait, say that again.
That picture's got to be at least 6 or 7 years old, because Rhonda Dockstader was the first dancer who ever toured with us. We tour with two other dancers now, Creation and Lunacy, but Rhonda was the original, and she's somebody who we go back. Like she came to the party that started all this, the Electric Powwow. She was like a big supporter and somebody who was part of that family, and somebody that, you know, we've just fallen out of touch with as our lives have gone other ways. And I probably haven't talked to her for like 2 or 3 years, and she just hit me up the other day. So it was just wild to come online and then
synchronicity
was just like, oh man, Rhonda, like that's why I have no problem doing anything for Rhonda when she calls me up, because she's fam from way back. And it's awesome to see that you came across that photo.
No doubt. Yeah, I like that. Her energy's working in mysterious ways for sure.
And we must all be on a wave then, you know.
Yeah.
Also, me and Bear, like we're working in the studio right now. We're working on some new stuff. We just got some stuff mixed and mastered now. Can't really speak too much on it. I'm getting the eye. So like,
stop it. Come on, Guillaume. Let him premiere.
But just expect to hear from us very soon.
Great.
So,
yeah.
I'm excited to hear that you guys got a project in the bag too. So
no doubt. Yeah, we got something coming out on Fool's Gold in the springtime.
Nice.
And,
cool.
Yeah, that should be really, really dope. We're gonna start talking about that really soon. Really soon. We've kind of been holding back. That's been a long time coming. I think our last album was 2016.
Yeah.
Same with us.
Yeah.
So this is a long time coming and very exciting, and got some great features. Worked with Lee Curtis from Vision Quest, who's helped us really elevate the project, and it's a lot to be proud of.
Save it, dog. Save it for later.
All right. Oh wait, hold up. Guillaume's in the background. He's like, sorry, bro. No, it's it's true. I like what you said about being in the room with your peoples and your collaborators, and like that energy. Really, nothing beats it.
Also, me and Bear are not sociable people at all. I don't think. Like, I'm just around my family. He's just by himself and his partner. So
he's got the wrestlers though.
Yeah, man. This is our bubble, and this is what feels right.
It's really weird because we came into Toronto and they just put Toronto on full lockdown.
Oh snap! When
just into a lockdown city. So the next 20 days is going to be Tim and I going back and forth from the studio to playing video games here at the Airbnb.
And you know what? I can't wait. I've been waiting. I can't wait.
Sounds lovely. Sounds a lot like a lovely way to spend the beginning of December.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Nice and cozy.
Yep.
All right, fellas. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Really
guys.
great to connect, and I hope we can connect on something in the future. It's been inspirational to hear your perspective.
Get in the same room together and continue to chat.
Let's stay in touch.
Yep.
Sure.
Most definitely.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been, I can't believe 2 hours just went by. So
wow,
easy. You guys
easy. When you're schmoozing, it just time just flies.
Got it.
Cool.
All right, much respect. Peace, guys.
Respect.
Peace. All those guys are dope.
Yep.
This show is so much fun.
Some great insight, man. I learned a bunch. That's always the best.
Absolutely. And a lot more to learn from these guys.
Yep.
Well, look, usually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Next week we got the week off. Don't we have the week off?
No,
that's not next week.
That's Christmas. Next week, totally enormous extinct dinosaurs.
Totally enormous extinct.
And it's also Giving Tuesday. The show is falling on Giving Tuesday, so we're going to be welcoming some guests to help spread some love to some organizations that are doing good work. One is Building Beats out of Brooklyn. So we're going to have the homie Marcus on from Building Beats, talking about their mission. And then also I think we're going to bring on Robin Albujo from DJs for Climate Action, talk a bit about the sample, talk a little bit more about the sample pack because he masterminded that.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So let's see y'all. We'll see you guys next week. And in the meantime,
yeah, usually this is the time where we do vinyl thoughts, our final thought and final musical thought of the episode. But I'm in a new studio space, and so I don't have access to the turntables. I'm so sorry. So instead, we are going to That's your setup.
Final thoughts. Final. There's no V on it. It's just an F. Final thoughts. And we just dropped our remix of the homie Artelon just dropped. So
on Dirty Boy.
Why not just end our thoughts with that? That's one that should be. It's a fun way to close the show. It's high energy.
For sure.
Sweet.
So
let's bring that
check it out. Yeah, this is
thanks
off
to
of
Red. Thanks to Chris holding it down, our producer, J Mac, everybody in the chat, everybody on Twitch.
No doubt. Artelon's Mr. Good remix album is coming out soon, or dropped, or about to drop.
Yeah, no, it just dropped.
Records. Check it out.
Artelon's remixes just dropped.
All right, guys. Lots of love. See you next week.
Let's wait till that. Yeah, no, good.